Okay, our next question that a student has submitted is, can I get any help with finding books and journal articles for my subject? And what is the best way to record and take notes on my research? Two separate questions here within one. Richard, we'll go to you first.
Okay, well, I'm a librarian, so obviously my first answer is going to be to consult your subject librarian. At the University of Derby, there is a team of subject librarians with specific responsibilities for different subject areas. So they know what information is available, whether it's in the printed format in the library or whether it's in one of our online internet subscriptions. So consult your subject librarian. I think the temptation is to jump straight into Google and see what you can find, and there's just so much of it, and some of it might be good and some of it might be absolute rubbish, but what you need for a dissertation is the good quality academic level kind of information. Now, we subscribe to lots of these resources within the library. Usually they're not available for free over the internet, so see your subject librarian, find out which are the best resources for you to use. You might see the librarian as part of your curriculum. I mean, it might be built into your course, you know, that there's a library workshop, but if there isn't, we run drop-in sessions and you can make individual appointments, so check out your librarian.
Peter, you've done a little bit of research, haven't you, around educational and research methodology?
Yes, yeah. Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm an academic, not a librarian, so I would say my first suggestion would be to go and see a librarian. The centre and the heart of a university is the library. That's why the university is there, because that information is there, and librarians are fantastic at knowing the structure of how information is stored and related. And so I do get a lot of students come to me saying, I can't find anything on the internet. So, you know, well, what's the chances? You've either invented a subject or you're not looking the right way. And of those, it's likely that you're not looking the right way. Going to a librarian to ask where they would find that material is, they want to be asked, as you've just heard from Richard. So that's one thing. Then the other thing, people say, what's the best way to record and take notes? Do I do it as though for an essay and so on? Actually, the first thing I would say, we were discussing this earlier, the first thing is you never read a textbook from the beginning to the end, and you don't even read a journal paper that way. You don't read it in order. In other words, you approach that text, an academic text, it's not a novel. You approach that from the point of view, first you can read the abstract. If the authors can't sum up what is contained in that document in a 250-word abstract, then that's a good reason to put that paper down for a start, because if they can't be succinct there, then they won't be succinct elsewhere. So that's the first thing. So you're always actually looking for a reason to put that paper down. So if the abstract passes the test, you then go to the introduction and the conclusions. And if they look as though they are germane to your subject, then it might be worth hanging on to that paper and reading further. If they look as though, well, it's kind of interesting, but that's not what I'm looking at, then you put the paper down. Same with a textbook. You don't read it all the way through. You read the introduction clearly so you know what it's about. And then you pick the chapter that is relevant to you. It may point to other chapters. And then finally, one of the most valuable things in academics' texts comes at the back. It's the references. When you say to me, oh, I can't find anything about it, I say, well, have you looked at the references of the paper you have quoted? The number of times I say, oh, no, I didn't. But actually referencing isn't just to show that you're not plagiarising. Referencing is a really generous thing that academia does, which is give you a trail, a detective trail. You can just follow those references and there'll be some good ones in there. And you can follow their references and there'll be some good ones in there. And in no time at all, the subject opens out before you. So that was my contribution to that.
Thank you.
Could I add something as well?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Well, when we're sort of on the topic of note-taking and what to get from books as well, I think it's worth pointing out again that you're probably going to end up with quite a lot of notes for something as sort of big as a dissertation. So I think it's quite vital to have some kind of system to put those notes into, some kind of filing system, whether that's electronically or whether that's on paper, whether that's highlighting things in different colours, putting things in different places. You need to be aware of where you can find what notes, where you can find what bits of your research. because otherwise you're just going to get lost in the end. If you have some good filing system of sorts, then it'll also make the task of writing it and referencing it fully in the end much easier. There's nothing worse than sort of having written the entire thing and then finding out, oh, I need to put in all these footnotes, and where did I find that again? Oh God, no, I didn't take any notes on that, and I can't remember what page that was on. Oh, I have to run to the library again to look up what page that is on, and all that.
Yeah. Also, running a draft document from day one, actually, I know that many students come to this say, right, I've done all my research and now I'm going to start writing, which is bonkers. Whereas if you start it, you should start writing on day one. And that means in your kind of section headings and so on, you can say, see so-and-so. I've got some notes about that. So by cross-referencing back to your notes that way, that draft document is a good way of kind of understanding your own notes.
I think that the organisation of your notes as well is very important, because a dissertation, you can have lots of notes for a dissertation. You might not go back to it straight away either. Yeah. So you need to be able to understand your notes when you go back to it. And also think, as you're going through, what's this relating to? Organise your notes in a logical way as you go.
Yeah. So what I tend to do is, what I found worked for me when I was doing the masters, was that I'm an obsessive note taker, because I'm always so worried that I'm going to inadvertently plagiarise somebody. So I'll write whatever I've got from the text, maybe quoting them directly or whatever, but then I'll always put my own thoughts in as well with my initials or whatever. Some people do it by just putting it in a different font or something like that. But then I found when I came to actually start writing it, I'd actually written quite a lot of it as I'd been going along, because I'd been writing in response to these things that I'd been reading and putting my own thoughts in. A lot of it was there, and a lot of it actually ended up being really useful. So it is worth spending that time making the notes and being really methodical about it.